What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Salty Thursday. I'm Saltiest Gaming, your host, if I could talk. This is another episode of the Saltiest Gaming Podcast, a very special episode. We're going to be talking about E3 2019. Another episode of the Saltiest. We're getting reverb from Bloody. Now he's on the panel. But yeah, we're going to be talking about E3 2019. We're very excited about that. Lots of schedules, game releases, rumors, all of that. We're going to talk about all of it. We got some great topics as well. So without further ado, let's give some shout outs. We appreciate all the members of the channel. New member Timothy Dixon, all the Patreons. We got them scrolling down on the bottom of the screen. Shout out to all the people that were here early. The first one I see is Antonio, Alechia, Mitchie Dies a Lot, Spider-Man 356. My bad, I butchered that. Dravenero, all the regulars, guys. We appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button and share this out on social media. We appreciate it. Let's start off with Nukem. How's it going, man? How's your week been? All that good stuff.
Boom, boom, kaboom. Noof is in the room. It's Thursday night. TSGP. This is going to be a great show. I can feel it right down in my bones. Yes, indeed. There was a lot of stuff that kind of dropped over the last 24 hours. Some news, some cool tidbits, and all that stuff. Cool. Yeah, man, I am doing great. Thanks for asking. And back over to you, Salt.
Awesome. Yeah, I almost didn't make it here because Titan had me tied up playing Sea of Thieves. Titan, how's it going, man?
We had some one that could. None of us could find the last treasure, man. Okay.
Yeah, it was getting down to the wire. I was like, when you start submissions on Sea of Thieves, better
still blame him.
You better be ready to get yelled at by Titan Drago, if you know what I'm saying. So,
especially if you're a Welsh or Ashtray.
That's right.
Them two, I swear, Welsh like triggers me on purpose. He'll grab the wheel and turn it, and it got so bad we had to throw him in the brig. But anyways, yeah, it was great you finding that last treasure chest so we could make it onto TSGP, Salty. I appreciate it, and I'm ready to go. How about you?
I'm ready to go. Shout out to KhAoS ThEoRy with the $2 super chat. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox as well? No, yes. I don't think so. Is it?
Yeah, it's coming to Xbox.
Okay, yeah, it is. If you listen to PlayStation, they'll probably tell you that it's only on PlayStation. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. All right, let's move on to our next panel member, Hyena Den. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here again. There's some interesting topics today, so it's going to be fun, as always.
Yeah, we got some new GIFs going on. I'm going to debut those as we go. This is one of my favorites here, the nerd dance. You know you like this one. Next up, we got Bloody Knuckles. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You know who it is. Bloody Knuckles, a.k.a. the Gothic Gamer and your resident anime king. And I got to say, I'm excited for today's show, as always, here on TSGP. A lot of interesting news in the past 24 hours, I would say. And I know we got some words for that because we had some pregame, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, those are the two of the first stories we'll be talking about. We got the stripping Dino in the background. What else? We got some good gifts. It's gonna be fun night tonight, guys.
That Dino was more.
That took me by surprise.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one, right?
That stripping Dino was more entertaining than what I just spent 10 minutes watching.
So let's that's a good segue there, Bloody. Let's talk about the PlayStation State of Play. I turned it on and I was I was playing Sea of Thieves at the time, so it was kind of back and forth for me. And I didn't. What were they showing in the beginning? Monster Hunter World DLC. That looked pretty interesting. I have Monster Hunter, so I'm interested in that. But that's kind of a multi-plat. What'd you guys think of that DLC for Monster Hunter? Let's start with Bloody, because you own the game, right?
Yes, I do, and I have 500 hours in that game. And I will say, I'm excited for Iceborne. I've been excited for Iceborne since they first announced it back in Christmas from Capcom's video that they did about it. So,
really? Okay.
Why are we talking about it 5 months later on, supposedly the big showcase or video from Sony?
So that's
the trailer was great, but
That's a little dig
It's a
on Sony
multiplayer.
right there, right?
Absolutely, because the fact that I didn't know that it was okay to show multiplats. I didn't know that that's what we were gonna fill our shows with. I mean, that's just me. But the trailer's cool. I'm happy for Capcom. I'm excited for Monster Hunter. I was like, I've been waiting for Iceborne since they announced it back then. The expansion looks cool. We get a whole new area, a bunch of new armors, a bunch of new monsters. But anything else? Ooh,
Yeah, it's
Sony.
got snow.
It's got snow. Yeah, I'm all for the snow. I'm all for that. I'm all for hunting more monsters. But
The game literally just became cooler.
hey, it became 20% cooler, sir.
Hey,
I
look
remember
at-
them.
Go ahead.
I
go
remember
ahead,
them teasing that deal or that expansion at it was at the Game Awards, and then they had a follow-up video in December. But yeah, like
Yep.
I don't know, man.
It's what I'm saying, man. It's just, I was excited for the trailer. I love it, but I mean, this is what you're leading off with, and you spend, out of 10 minutes that you have, that's 2.5 right there for the whole trailer.
Dude, I was really skeptical of this show. I didn't even watch it. I'm just listening to it being played while we're playing Sea of Thieves. And I'm like, they're starting with a multi-plat and they got 10 minutes? Even though, with that being said, it still sounded like twice of a better show than the last one, which
It was,
twice as long.
Well, they
I
actually
mean-
they actually showed
when-
console
I mean,
games, right?
I mean, 2 times 0 is still 0, but hey.
So let's go over
Yeah.
let's go over the rest of the announcements real quick, and we'll talk about them. So the Monster Hunter World Iceborne expansion was shown off, and then they showed Predator Hunting Grounds announced for 2020. So it's a ways off. This is kind of like an Evolve looking game. Would you guys say kind of Evolve-ish with
Yes,
Predator
very
involved?
Much so.
So,
Very much so.
Evolve failed. So how is this game going to succeed in your guys' opinion? Do you think it would rest on the Predator name and stuff like that? Like, what do you guys think?
Totally.
Yes,
All right.
that's all it has going for it. Hey guys, we got Predator. What else you got?
Let me just break it down for you guys real
It's
quick.
got Predator.
Do you know who makes the game? It's Illphonic, the people that made that piece of junk Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th,
game.
No,
yeah.
I love that game.
There you go. That's all that needed to be said.
No, no, man. Salty, you need to get that game. Friday the 13th. You need to get that
No.
game. That is a fantastic game, man.
No.
It really is.
Well,
No.
I never see you playing it, so why would I pick
Oh,
it up?
shit.
You know
Because I
what I'm saying?
got no one to play it with.
Because everyone is playing.
Yeah, and
Everyone's
you won't
playing
have any-
something better.
You won't
That
have
is-
anyone to play Predator with either.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh. All right, but
Touche.
here's my thing with it. If you're gonna make the and it's an asynchronous multiplayer game, okay? When it's all human people and one is an evil boss or whatever you want, like the Predator or whatever it is, and then you got and it's versus a team of humans. So that's an asynchronous multiplayer game. Just because Evolve, didn't do as good as everyone thought it would, I still thought it was one of the most underrated games of the generation. I loved that game. I put a good amount of time into it. I'm sure lots of people put a lot of time into Evolve. The thing is, just because that didn't live up to its expectations doesn't mean that this game can't go further.
I mean, didn't they also have that with what was formerly called, or what's now Space Lords, but what was called something weird like Star Bastards or some shit like that? I don't remember. It was the same game.
Star
They
Bastards.
changed. Yeah, I don't know what it was called before, but now it's called Space Lords. I can't remember because the game really wasn't anything to write home about.
Can we get an L in the chat
Fighting?
for Star Bastards? I don't know what the hell that is.
No, it was called Raiders. Raiders of the Lost
Raiders.
Planet. Raiders
Yeah.
of the Lost Planet. Yeah, they changed it to Space Lords now.
How'd you get Star Bastards out of Raiders
I don't know
of the
because
Lost Planet?
it was some bullshit. All right.
Can we get an L
I don't
for
know, but I like the
Bloody?
name of that.
I'll take that.
I don't know, but I actually like that name. That sounds like a cool game I'd buy.
Yeah.
I know,
Star
right?
Bastards.
Star
I mean,
Bastards,
we
yeah,
got-
man,
hey,
sign
don't
it
worry,
up.
we got Void Bastards coming out, so that
Yeah,
one.
true.
Raiders fell straight on its face. Evolve didn't do good. And Friday the 13th had issues.
Well, that had
Sounds
legal
like a lot of issues.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
That
but
had legal
I
issues.
think all of these games have the same problem, and it's it's the formula that these games are based off of. It's that one versus I don't think that works. I don't think that works.
Look at this. Friday the 13th would still be pretty big, and it would still be getting updated to this date if they're not in there, but they're in court right now for whatever it is. I don't. It's been a while since I read the story, but they're basically in a court battle, and they can't update the game until it's resolved. And you guys know how court battles, they could just go on forever. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I just look at all of these games and I'm
the
like,
only game that's done really well as an asymmetrical multiplayer is Dead by Daylight. But even with Dead by Daylight, it has its issues because of the fact. But that's a community issue. But the game gets updates. They have the fan base for it. They have the drive, and they have a system that works really well for that game.
And Dead by Daylight is not as good as Friday the 13th. Let me tell you, it's just not. The gameplay, just the gameplay itself. In Dead by Daylight, you have to start up these generators on the map. At least in Friday the 13th, you have multiple ways you can win if you're not Jason. You can start up the car, drive out. You can call the cops and escape that way. You could do both. You could, you could escape by a boat. There's all these different ways, so it makes it a little bit harder on Jason. What I didn't like was when they shrunk the maps. I thought the bigger map was... I don't know why they shrunk the maps. I didn't care for that. But everyone wants to shrink the map. Everyone needs more action. No, we don't, man. Leave the Call of Duty maps big. We don't need this over-the-top thrill, running, gunning 100% of the time. Can't even put my gun down to reload it crap.
Yeah, looking at the Predator game, I just kind of look at it with the side eye like I have with the aforementioned last 4 games. Out of their entire briefing or whatever this was from Sony, there were some good games in it that I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like Monster Hunter World, the expansion for it, I think looks cool. It's a game that I still want to try out since it's in Game Pass.
Hey, I'll help you. I will show you the ropes.
Yeah. So there's the expansion stuff for that game. There's Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know people are hyped for that. I don't know. It's not something that I would play for myself, but I can look at it and say, yeah, that's cool. They had one other game in there that I thought, whoa, let's hold the train up. Let the host do it. Okay, let's go on to the next games on the list.
Let me just say one thing.
Can we go back to Final Fantasy?
Okay?
No, we're going to talk about Predator real quick, okay?
Let me just say real quick on Predator. Yeah. Sony almost had my jaw on the floor, and I'll tell you why. Because when that opened up, I saw this lush jungle environment, and I saw these soldiers, and I was starting to think, holy crap, is it possible SOCOM could be back? Because it even started with Sony Interactive Entertainment. It wasn't like a third-party thing opening up. Yeah. And then I heard that, that typical Predator music, and I went, oh, I know what this is now. And then I saw that cloak up in the tree, and I was like, okay, but didn't Ghost Recons do this shit like a few months back? Only it was a mission in the game. So, yeah, that's what we got here right now. And, so I just got this to say, don't buy the game. Just get to the chopper and leave it in the jungle. It's going to die there.
Dude, Noof, I had an Arnold GIF and I didn't put it on. I forgot. Hey, if you guys missed the Arnold podcast featuring Noof Nukem, man, dude, gotta go check it out on Noof's channel. It was awesome. He did it for so long. I was boggled. My mind was boggled because when I do a horrible Arnold impression, I can only do it for a couple seconds and my throat gets all raspy, So props to Noof for that.
That whole game is literally the only selling point of that game is just hearing this all the time.
Oh, you just wanted to play that. I was wondering what that was. I thought you were having acid reflux back there. So yeah, let's move on to the next announcements for this show, whatever you want to call it. River Bond trailer. I don't even know what this is. We'll move on from that. They showed it. You want to talk about it? Okay.
I actually think it's cool.
Okay.
It's very simplistic and very polygonal, but I remember River Bond from the Indies ID at Xbox montage trailer from E3 2017. It was on for like a brief second. I'm like, when I first saw it, I thought that was really cool. So it's good to see the game again. I know it's coming onto it's Steam, probably Epic Games, Switch, PS4, Xbox One. It looks like a fun game to play.
It's cool that they're getting those crossover skins, but Again, it's something that we've known about for a while. It's
Yeah.
that's being worked on, and the ID at Xbox program, the indie support program we got going over here. Yeah, sure, they got to show it over there, but we saw it 2 years ago, guys. Come on, keep
Yeah.
up
So-
with the times.
I hope it's in Game Pass, because if it is, dude, I will play that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love a good couch co-op game, and that game looks really fun. It's one of those games that you literally play with a bunch of people together, drunk, and have a good time.
Yep.
They
Awesome.
really need to rename State of Play to
To
like
State of Stay Away.
just neighborhood
No.
of play. This isn't big. These are just dinky little things. Like
It's called State of Stay Away. That's
So
I'm saying.
what about that new PlayStation, the silver-ish one, the thin one? You guys,
I mean,
Cool. I like
It
it.
looks cool. I like it. It's clean. Has the PlayStation
sleek.
buttons on it.
I will not deny that it is sleek looking, but are we not going to complain that they have to pay for another version or another different style of their console, yet complain about Xbox?
People, hey, the haters,
good point.
the haters on
I'm
that
just-
side
I'm
complain
just
about our
saying.
controllers.
Yeah,
don't think they-
I mean, we get controllers, but that's used. I mean, you got to trade in your system to go get another fancy looking system, and yet whenever we do these big giveaways for limited editions, it's like, oh, why don't you just sell that?
I
was
just
gonna
want.
buy it. I was like, God, they barely buy their own shit.
I just-
bloody
I-
shush.
I just want a limited edition console in period for Xbox. That would be nice, right?
I mean,
has-
it'd be cool and all, but I mean, again, what's the point? I was
There you
like,
go. That's the
because remember
No.
when all these consoles come out, it's all marketing. That's why they
get
do
the
the special
microphone
giveaway.
out of your mouth, please. Burning my ears.
it's burning.
I mean, if this is burning your ears, your presence burns my eyes.
Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Who's excited for that PlayStation? In the chat, I think it looks pretty sleek. What's the price point on that? Do you guys know? It's a
If I didn't
PlayStation.
have one, I'd be running it to buy that for sure.
It looks like a PlayStation Slim to me, right?
Yeah. it
Okay,
is.
so the price point's got to be pretty low. I mean, we're at the end of the generation. What are they going to be coming in at $199 maybe? That'd be cool. I mean, $250. I might pick it up. Shoot, I don't have a PlayStation. People call me a fraud because I can't talk about PlayStation topics because I don't have a PlayStation. I might have to change that, but PlayStation 5 is right around the corner. Who knows what will happen? Let us know what you guys thought. But we also got the announcement of, well, it's not really an announcement. We got a trailer of Final Fantasy VII. It seems like it's been since the beginning of time since I've been hearing about this Final Fantasy VII stuff. I think it's a really good trailer that they showed. I think it's pretty cool, but they've gone through some difficulties with the development, different developers. What do you guys think of the trailer, and you guys hyped for Final Fantasy VII? I saw a lot of people in the chat excited for it. I think it's cool. They said they're going to show more stuff off at E3 during June. So let's start off with Noof. What do you think, man?
I think it looks really good. First of all, that's the most of the game we've actually seen for quite some time, maybe ever. So it looks really good. You actually could see some gameplay in there, along with some of the cinematics. The graphics are shaping up to be really good. Now it looks like they've, as someone mentioned somewhere else after the fact, that it looks like they're trying to combine the best of both worlds, the Final Fantasy story that people know and love, with the sort of third-person action that was kind of coined with Final Fantasy 15. Now, if that's the case, I'm all over it because I like the combat from Final Fantasy 15. It was the first time it hooked me in. Now, it'd be great if they probably offered both ways of playing the game for, the original fans and new fans alike, but I'm liking where it's going. The thing is now, when will this game actually come out? I suspect it's still a ways out. And it is a multi-plat, as we mentioned here at the top of the program. It is coming to Xbox. Sony tried to make it seem like it was exclusive, but no, it is coming out for Xbox as well. I'm excited for Salty. I can't really say much more than that.
Yeah, I feel you.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Anybody else have thoughts on Final Fantasy VII? I'm not really a big Final Fantasy dude, so I can't really say much,
For me, I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan. I've always been a big Final Fantasy fan. I was the one who called and was excited the most when Square Enix announced all the Final Fantasy stuff coming to Xbox. People fail to remember is that Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming to Xbox. It's just going to be on PlayStation first for I don't know how long, but they said it's going to be coming over. It's great to see the trailer, but the thing for me is that this is something that we've known about for 5 years or so, and we already know that they had to completely scrap everything that was done before and switch to an internal dev, and they had to completely restart. And last time they said something was like 2017, 2018, saying that they were only like 10-15% into development, that it was going to be a while. So this is going to still be years off. We saw this happen with Final Fantasy 15. It took them years to get it off going. They had to switch directors and start all over, and it was almost a decade before we saw that game. It's going to be the same thing with this game. And while I'm excited for it and I'm going to play it because I did like 15's engine, I am not one of the Final Fantasy fans who loved 7. I honestly thought 7 was overrated, to be honest. I was like, honestly, 8 had a better story. 6 is the best of all time, but I honestly enjoyed 10 more than I did 7. But I am going to check it out because I do like the action RPG system that was coined with 15. So I'll check it out, but this trailer did literally nothing new except just add a few more new cinematics than what we saw in that trailer years ago. The engine doesn't look like it was really utilized, and they used some of the same gameplay stuff from back then, except showing off a little bit of the newer design for certain enemy bosses.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of fans of when games are remade and updated. I am not one of those fans. I can't stand it. I think that time would be so much better spent because we played this game already. Most of us have beat this game already. I don't want to go back to this game that has a fresh coat of paint on it. I really hate that. If they're ever going to remake a game, anybody, and I think they need to do it like the Resident Evil. And I didn't even get a chance. I didn't even play that one, but I've heard
remake.
No, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I've heard that it's a lot different than the original. So that's what they need to stick with, I think.
So
real quick. Studio Nintendo, shout out to him. He's a past member of this panel. He says, "Take that L, bish." Titan Drago, he's not happy with your assessment there, my dude.
Too bad you're not on here, Nick.
Oh my.
Here's the thing: is I agree with Titan to a certain extent that this is one of those games that most people, at least more the current generation, have played. But I understand wanting to remake it for a lot of the new fans to come in and be able to experience it. But I know that's why they're doing a lot of the ports of the older game. That's why we got Final Fantasy 7, the old version, on Xbox now. So I understand what they wanted to remake it, but they need to do something exciting with it instead of just making it look all nice and shiny. What they did with the Resident Evil 2 remake, they completely overhauled that system because they used what they they used part of the Resident Evil engine and what Capcom built, as well as I think part of what they're using for Devil May Cry's engine. But that one, they changed the story. They changed certain parts of the story and made it a brand new telling of that story. It's completely different than what originally happened, but it still had the root points there. They could have done that with Final Fantasy 7 and made it much better than it was back then, because the story that was told back then, kind of dry story if you look at it to today's standards. They could have completely done a lot more, but they've failed out on that.
Yeah,
Nick, what are you throwing in the trash? Let me know in the chat.
I think he's throwing you in the trash.
He doesn't like your take for some reason. There's a lot of people that are disagreeing with you guys. They want this Final Fantasy remake, and I think that
it's not a remake. It's a remaster. Let's be honest. It's a shiny new remaster because they're not doing anything. A remake completely overhauls it. Resident Evil 2, that's a remake. This is a shiny remaster. Learn your terms, people.
You're burning my ears out, man, with that mic.
Yeah, something's wrong with your mic, Bloody. Maybe take it a little away from your mouth.
A little bit further away from your mouth. All right. Anyway, next up we have the announcement with, what is this? Ghost Recon, the new Ghost Recon. It's a continuation of, I guess it's a sequel to the current.
Breakpoint.
Yeah, it's called Breakpoint. Apparently, players are going to have to eat rations, stay hydrated to maintain their health and stamina. They need to perform weapon maintenance to keep their guns working and accurate. They'll need to treat injuries that will otherwise affect their performance, man. What is this? Real life simulator? This is getting a little bit too far for me, in my opinion. Like guns breaking down and stuff. What did you guys think of this reveal here today?
Well, we talked a lot about this playing Sea of Thieves, and I'm going to reiterate some of it.
Yeah.
As far as the like I said, like we were talking about the guns degrading, that's crap. That's too far. You got to take that out because guns don't degrade over hours. You know, they degrade over decades. So that I'm just not on board with. However, I can get on board with. I can get on board with eating and drinking, right? Like, I mean, if you're in game for days on end, then I can get on board with that. It depends on how the time rolls by and whatnot in game time. But yeah, I don't mind that as long as. But they got to do it like with a twist, right? It's got to be kind of challenging, but not too challenging. That's why like I know Noof hates this type of gameplay mechanic because it's really hard to get right, to tweak it just right, to get it to where it's like a little challenging and not overbearingly just like, oh my God, why do I have to do this? You know, what do you think, Noof?
Giving me the option to turn it on or turn it off. I mean, what's next in games? We're going to need energy drink and Viagra to get these guys through a level. I mean, what is the deal? I mean, we saw Zelda over there needing to hit the treadmill in Breath of the Wild, and now you're going to bring this stuff to a tactical action shooter? Well, I don't want my action to be putting bandages on my ankle and you know, and stopping for a sip of water mid-mission, you know, to keep going. Like, that stuff is ridiculous, man. Like keep it in certain other games, but I don't need that stuff in my action shoot. I like the game itself. I love what I saw in terms of the trailer and the graphics and the premise of these ghosts basically being hunted by ghosts themselves. You know, bringing the fight to you instead of you dictating how the fight's going to go down. I like that stuff. That is cool. I like the way this game is shaping up, but that part ruined it for me right there. If that is what they're doing, it is a no-go from this hoe.
Well, check this out. In the movie Rambo First Blood, right? He, you know, at the end of the night when they had him trapped down in the mountain or whatever, right? They had him surrounded. He had to, you know, it showed him cooking meat, right? He hunted the boar or whatever, and he cooked meat. All right, I could do that once a day. And then maybe the gameplay mechanic entered in is like if once you sit in a camp for so long, then they get hot on your track, something like that. Maybe that's a way they could do it. That way I wouldn't mind. That way it would be like the movie, you know, it wouldn't be like you got to do it 3 times a day. Like, that's stupid, you know?
Yeah. Is it possible for these games to go a little bit too far into the realism? I mean, I think it is to a certain extent with certain franchises like this one. I mean, they're pushing those kind of things to kind of make the game different, to evolve it. And I'm a big proponent of evolving games, like to keep them fresh. Like, you got to do that, right? I think that what they're trying to do is differentiate it from Ghost Recon and Wildlands, because when I'm looking at it, it looks pretty similar, right? I mean, Ghost Recon Wildlands didn't come out that long ago, so what they're thinking in their minds is like, well, how can we make this different? And they're like, well, they can get hungry, and they can get wounded, and they can do this and that.
I think I'm in a different mindset than y'all with all this, because I think that them adding this. Yes, remember, Ghost Recon used to be a tactical shooter. Now they're adding a little bit of realism. It's not too much. And why are we complaining about weapon maintenance in this, yet everyone is fucking okay with it in Fallout or fucking Skyrim?
It's
and
because
every one of those No. It's the same aspect. It exists in all those games. It existed right now in fucking Breath of the Wild, and everyone was okay with that shit. Why is it that Ghost Recon is the only one that's getting the shit for this? We saw it as well when we went.
All right,
we saw it in other games.
I need to talk,
exactly.
man.
It's because of those other games.
But no. But I'm saying that this is a realistic, more tactical shooter, and the way that they're explaining the story is that you're being hunted by another ghost who has a militia who knows about your supply routes. They've attacked in the trailer. Hang on. In the trailer, they showed that they were attacking the points that the ghost knew about.
You're just delaying your L. You're delaying your L, right? You want to go?
You
want to tussle? You want to tussle in the ring?
And what happened in Wildlands is that you have the freedom because of the fact that you're doing whatever.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's an issue.
I'm just saying that
you can keep talking, but the L's coming. All right, the L's coming. All right, get ready. Sit down. Put your hands out, bloody, and receive this L. Pass the plate. All right. So
All
what's
right,
gonna
Salty, he's warmed up. Put it in already.
what's the
I want
difference?
to drop my $80 on a Ghost Recon game, not Bear Grylls Survival.
Oh, yes. Okay, so what's the difference, Bloody? Because those games are founded in those principles. When you take a game like Ghost Recon that has never had anything close to that, you're going outside the genre, and that's the difference. Hold the L, pass the plate. Pass the plate.
I mean, I don't see how that has any relevance to anything, because the fact that
is Ghost Recon an RPG?
No, because the fact that games have to change and adapt to new aspects.
Let's lower the level. The higher you get, the more L's you get. All right, so we got to keep this on a level. All right,
and you can keep handing them out, because the fact that your point is moot, because the fact that the point is that games have to transition and adapt to new aspects. They always add new genres. We saw it with a bunch of other games before. Why is it okay that those other games got a pass when that wasn't the grounding? The only one that had the aspect that was grounded in the fact that that's how the game has always worked.
What kind of what is Ghost Recon?
Was always Fallout and Elder Scrolls.
Sir.
The fact is, look at it, worked it.
Sir, what is Ghost Recon? What kind of genre?
It is a tactical shooter.
Okay, is it an RPG?
Well, since Wildlands showed up, yes, it had aspects.
All right, so what is Zelda? What is Zelda?
That is an RPG.
Okay. What letter does Lake start with?
At one point.
What letter does Lake start with? It was an
action-adventure game, so they transitioned into a new aspect. That's what I'm saying, is that games have to transition and evolve.
Your comparisons were to RPGs, my dude.
And adapt over time.
RPGs don't compare to shooters, and you just change the genre of your game completely, it's going to turn people off, and that's my complaint, because what you're saying is you're comparing it to Fallout, you're comparing it to Zelda, and you're comparing it to all these other things that are RPGs that are founded in those principles. It doesn't work like that.
Dude, at the rate we're going, Marcus Phoenix is going to have to take his do-rag off and clean his armor before he's going
Yeah, what if you're playing Gears of War and then you're like, hold up, we're not going to shoot you, got to clean my gun, it's breaking down, oh shit, I got to drink some water.
My legs are stuck because I
got to eat some food.
On my last kill.
Right.
I see what you both are saying, and you both have points, really, but the thing is, for me, it's like, all right, if you're gonna change it, if you're gonna change the genre, just you gotta maybe we're being a little too hasty.
Call it a different game and stop trying to capitalize on the Ghost Recon name.
Yeah.
But they're too scared to do that. Trust me. See, the thing is, they're capitalizing.
I'm not even worried about that.
I am, because it's a Ghost Recon game, and you're going so far outside of the foundation of what it is. If you read the actual
Ghost Recon books, that's something that's known about in war. They have to do that frequently.
The
fact that they're adding it into it is not a big deal. It's still very much realistic.
We all don't have Wikipedia knowledge, right? But I do know what genre the game is, right?
Is not realistic.
No, maintenance is just cleaning the weapon and making sure that it is continue working. When you're running around in the jungle and you're getting mud, blood, and all sorts of stuff in your gun, it's gonna clog up when you keep shooting out of it and it's getting backed in, because the fact that that's gonna cause a backfire and it's gonna blow up in your face.
Man? Where's G-Man?
Where's G-Man?
G-Man in here? No, man, the gun isn't. It's gonna be fine, man. Like, you don't need. That's where I have a problem.
It depends on. We don't know exactly how that's all gonna work. They just said that it's gonna have maintenance.
Well, if you're throwing gravel in the gun, then you might need to clean the crap out. But mud isn't gonna do it.
There you leaving the
shooting slingshotting rocks.
You know, do me a favor. I want you to go take a pistol, shove it right in the ground, shove that barrel full of mud, and keep firing it over and over again. And I want you to tell me
you're gonna fire a gun into the ground, bloody. Come on now. That's not what
you're crawling around in the jungle.
You're being ridiculous.
You are crawling through mud. You are holding that rifle 2 inches off your chest.
Man, you're blowing my eardrums out, my dude.
You deserve to have it blown out right now.
Mario's not happy about that, all right?
I can see everybody's point, both sides.
Hyena's all quiet
on this matter,
nice.
but I mean, like for me, when I wanted to jump in like 15, 20, 30 minutes ago, when I think it was maybe Bloody that brought up Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. I don't have a problem with this because I'm already used to games that do this stuff, and I actually really enjoy simulation in games. Like when I looked at Days Gone, I thought like the whole crafting aspect and maintaining, I thought that stuff was cool. And I look at a game like State of Decay. Personally, I didn't think State of Decay went far enough with their simulation. Like there was so much more they could have done with that game. But I personally enjoy simulation stuff in video games, and that's the aspect of like to where it's like it's something where like maintaining your gun every 20 seconds, like that's just stupid. But the idea of having that in the game can be good if it's if it's not
well.
Yeah, if it's implemented well. So for me personally, when I look at this stuff, it doesn't bother me at all, but I can see how it can rub somebody the wrong way because people might not be used to that stuff.
And that's what I'm saying. This is why Salty is so adamantly against this, is because previous games have done it poorly, and you're gonna have that sour taste in your mouth, and you're not gonna want it put into other games. So I can see,
So take one of your favorite genres, right? Let's just say you're a Call of Duty fanatic. You're used to just a shooter, doing your thing, multiplayer, and all of a sudden they just start throwing RPG mechanics into your Call of Duty. You got to level up, you got to clean your gun, you got to do this and that. Like it would throw so many people off. You know what I'm saying? Like there's only, when you evolve your game, you got to reside in the realm which it resides. If you go too far out, then it's not residing on that foundation, which makes it the game.
Like Red Dead Redemption, you didn't have to clean your guns. Now in the new one, you got to clean your guns. It's not detrimental by any means.
Like if you look at Call of Duty, or for this game example, if you change it too much, then at that point I think people would probably appreciate it being some sort of spin-off game rather than a part of like the main thing. But like I said before, I can see both sides. It doesn't bother me personally because I'm used to it, but not everybody's gonna like the same thing.
So it's weird in the unit. We'll move. I guess we can move on unless you guys have more points to put out there. But it's just, I think it could still be a good game. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe it will be fun and it's not going to be that annoying to do these things. Maybe they're going to be minimal. Maybe they'll change stuff because it is in alpha state, so they can adjust things.
Yeah, they changed that one game that survival. They took the survival aspects completely out of We Happy Few.
So there's times to change it, you know what I'm saying? So we don't got to get all up in arms, but it was weird to hear this, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of times these companies like to capitalize off the names of their franchises, and they just like to milk the hell out of them, you know what I'm saying? So they very easily could have called this something else and had it as an Ubisoft title, but they chose to do what they want to do. So we'll see what the fans do, So we'll see how the fans react. We don't know, but time will tell. So let's move on to the next topic. I saw this on Dealer Gaming's video. He talked about PS5's plans for the future, and ultra high speed SSDs will make loading screens a thing of the past. I wanted to talk about this and get some opinions from you guys, because I've read multiple articles that are saying that standard hard drives are being phased out at this point. So what do you guys think the impact of SSDs are going to be on this next gen consoles? Anybody could jump in. Let's start with Hyena.
Most people understand that SSDs are so much faster than mechanical drives for multiple reasons. The impact that I think most people are expecting for the PS5 and the next Xboxes is that you're going to get a fraction of the loading times that we've seen this gen. Do I think it's going to be like taken literally where they say loading times are going to be a thing of the past? No, there's always going to be loading in your games. Is it going to be significantly decreased? Absolutely. But I still think even with SSDs, you're still going to get loading strings that are maybe at a maximum 4, 5, 6 seconds long, which is so radically different from what we have now. But they're still going to be loading screens, unless you look at something like I look at games like The Last of Us and how or God of War. And how everything is a smooth transition. I think that sort of blueprint is something that Sony's going to kind of architect their games around with SSDs, where they kind of had to do some intuitive engineering to get to how God of War had everything seamlessly transitioning for all of their scenes. I think with this SSD, they're going to try and mold that into all of their first party games going forward. And I think using it that way is actually really cool, where everything's just seamless. But there are developers out there that are just going to make games normally, and you're still going to have loading screens one way or another. But regardless, we're going to have decreased loading times, and I think most people are going to be happy with what we have coming next gen.
Do you think there's going to be an issue with the internal storage and then people's accessibility to external storage? Like, if you store your game on a regular hard drive, right, an external that you bought this generation, you try to bring it over or whatever. If you're going from SSD loading times to standard, hard drives, it's going to be a shock, right? And even with these next gen games, what do you think is going to happen with all that?
Well, like Dealer pointed out in his video, I do think that there is a possibility for compatibility issues, but that's only if developers first party developers, for example, are architecting their game only around an SSD. If you end up putting or attaching a external hard drive or external mechanical drive to your PS5, let's say, that might bring in some compatibility issues where that game, like let's say The Last of Us 3, right, is made around an SSD, but you have it saved on, a mechanical drive that might make the world wonky or something. Like, who knows? There could be compatibility issues with this, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
What do you, Titan? What do you think of this? Because you're one of the first people that I was talking to about SSDs. Like, what do you think the impact is? Do you think there's going to be issues with external storage based off of the size of the games and the cost of the drives? I personally think there's going to be an issue there because when you're upgrading to a next gen system, it's very pricey, and then you're not going to really take into account, hey, my whole game library is coming forward with me, and I need to buy a huge SSD external. Those aren't cheap right now, you know what I'm saying? So what do you think?
No, SSD, it's all like the load, it's gonna be huge. Let's get that out of the way. It's gonna eliminate loading times completely in most games. It's gonna be so, like, I read an article just yesterday. It said, I think, and they're gonna be using high speed SSDs. I keep saying high speed, not just like standard SSD. So I don't think they're gonna be putting the lowest quality SSDs in these systems. I think they're gonna be either, like, Microsoft has even said they were, we've all read reports on them developing different technology for this. And so I think they got something. I think a part of their quote unquote secret sauce has something to do in maybe aiding with SSDs or something. I don't know what yet, but maybe they're even finding a way to even make them more efficient. So that's just one guesstimate I have, because there's these, you could pick out the keywords that these, executives keep putting out there, and they're not giving you any real, information. But you could keep picking out these keywords in each of their interviews. High speed SSDs is one of them. Not just, they're not just saying regular standard SSDs. So I don't think they're going cheap in this.
No, I'm not doubting the tech for the SSDs. I'm saying the external drive that you are more than likely going to have, because you have a lot of games. That's going to be pricey,
not necessary, though. People that get those, like, they're not.
What do you mean it's not necessary?
Well, let's take
backwards compatibility and forwards compatibility. Okay, forwards compatibility is not going to be a thing with the PlayStation 5, but more than likely. But backwards compatibility will be. So you're going to be bringing your library over. That's a lot of games, and that's a lot of storage. So unless you just don't want to play those games, then what are you going to do?
Look, that's true, and I'm not going to debate against that. That is a very true fact. Maybe put your older games on an external. I don't know, but I was talking to Ashtray just today. All right, we're going to use this as an example because it fits right in here. I was talking to him, and he said, my Xbox keeps messing up because of my external. It's not reading my external. Well, dude, that has nothing to do with your Xbox. It has to do with your external and the communication with the Xbox, Like your Xbox is fine. He's like, and my dashboard is lagging. Well, it does that from time to time on mine too. It's not a huge deal. But my point is, I was like, hey, Ashtray, how much of your, I was like, why don't you just delete some games? How much of your hard drive is taken up? He said, I don't use it. I'm like, why are you using external when your hard drive is at 100%, man? Like put
I do
on there.
I do start to like wonder if you look at, so let's hypothesize for next gen games like again like The Last of Us 2. I wonder if developers will have to explicitly state, in bold asterisks on the side that plays best when loaded on on the internal SSD, or they have to tell people this just in case, like because nobody wants to be, it doesn't want to be jarring for anybody, having to load it on your hard or your external drive, and something messes up, right? So I just wonder if they're gonna, some developers might have to explicitly state something like that to avoid confusion or people getting pissed off or anything like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in an opposite view. Like at this point, they keep saying high speed, but that literally can mean anything. It's literally, there's so many different types of SSDs, and it's all dependent on what type of form factor they're using, or specifically what kind of technology they're using, right? If you know exactly what type of SSD and what they're trying to put into it, that'll help give you a better idea. Are they using a high RAM-based SSD that has a battery backup to keep it, but the fact that it has its own internal acceleration devices that allows it to run faster? Are they using something that's MLC or multi-level cell based for a NAND type? Are they using a single cell level? Are they using enterprise MLC? Or are they using a hybrid, which is a HDD SSD? Are they using a NOR NAND? Or are they using an MLC plus SLC? There's so many types of SSDs that all have varying speed. Using high speed can literally be any one of those types. It's such a fluff word that they're not.
If you're gonna say
But I'm saying it's such a fluff word. They're not giving any sort of aspects, because of the fact that they can get, when they say high speed, that could be any type of SSD.
What I'm saying is, I don't think it's the base, the low end.
But that's what I'm saying, is that you can get a cheap style SSD that still runs at a high speed. It depends on what type of SSD they are running. That's what I'm saying. You're assuming based off one word, and I'm saying that word is so multifaceted and so fluff based that it has no meaning. High speed could be anything. You can get a high. Hang on. When I say high speed HDD, what does that make you think of, right?
Hard disk drive.
Yeah, but when I say a high speed HDD, what comes to your mind? No, you say you're right now. You're but see, that's what I'm saying, is that you don't know. They're trying to use such generic words that you're not saying.
I know. I
high
said it right away.
High speed anything above 7200 is a high speed.
Your mic is cutting, so you got to lower the level down.
But what I don't
need a hearing aid. All right, I'm trying to not go deaf
all
here.
I'm saying is that these words, especially when you thought high speed, that they're not going to go with something cheap. There are cheap style hard disk drives as it is that go above 7200 as it is, and 7200 is what is starting to become more standard, because that's a higher speed. However, there are some that are still go above that are more expensive. But all I'm saying is that these words that they're using is so back and forth, and it's all sleight of hand. They're just trying to say, hey, look at this shiny object here. This is what we're going to use to describe it. But it's nothing that phenomenal until they give us a type of SSD that they are going to use. And if they go with something that's actually good and more and actually supports high speed, that is actually a higher styled SSD that actually has decent technology behind it, that's expensive, because even nowadays SSD is still so expensive. Them putting a 1 terabyte is going to increase the price, and that's not just Sony, that's going on Microsoft as well. SSD is going to be expensive going forward, and it's still taking its time to come down. That's the most important thing you said out of that whole spiel. Exactly. But what I'm saying is that
ding ding ding, your time's up. Ding ding. Titan, what were you saying?
I was going to quickly say that when I made the whole PS5 specs breakdown, and I say that in air quotes, Mark Cerny was talking about an SSD, and I'm like, that's cool and all, but there's 3 different types of SSDs out there. that means almost nothing to me. You have different form factors, you have different standards.
Exactly.
They have different read and write speed. Like there's so many factors into what an SSD can be.
So real quick. So if we can just get past this whole thing that there's many SSDs out there, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is there's going to be an extreme difference from what your external's doing if you have a low end one or you don't have an SSD, which definitely is not going to be, because some people out there have 8 terabytes, 10 terabytes like of a standard hard drive. Like I said, I think this is going to be a big issue that's not being brought up with next gen systems. It's going to be a huge price point and a huge expenditure.
That's what I got to say. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's going to add into the cost. It's going to drive the price up. But the thing is, right now with externals, that it's going to be no different than it is nowadays.
Bloody, how much does an external that would be able to hold your library to a comparable rate? How much does an SSD hard drive cost right now? Is what I'm saying, because we have this game library. Some people are out there rocking like 800 games on Xbox because we have backwards compatibility
you're not gonna be able to
right
put all your games on there. Period.
Oh yeah, no.
You get that
right now, even right now, an external SSD, a single terabyte is almost $200.
Okay, so take that figure. $200 for just 1 terabyte, and this is a huge thing. Trust me, people want convenience, right?
But even people who use external SSD now still say, even on the X, that there's still an issue with it loading up because of the fact that it's literally a communication issue. That's something that's always gonna be different. There's people who swapped out the internal hard drive with an SSD or an. But I'm not. I'm literally saying things that have been done. It's still going to be what they use, how it's set to fix. Even with an external, it's still going to vary. There's always going to be a latency issue. It's always going to be a read issue because of the fact that it's the communication.
No, whether it's I'm talking about a storage issue. Because what you're trying to say, let me talk. So what I'm trying to say is, you're saying one of these main selling features of your console is backwards compatibility. Bring your entire library with you. No game gets left. It's just like if you're uninstalling, reinstalling, not having your whole library. It's a thing that people need to talk about.
What's wrong about having a hard disk drive? What's having right now with the hard disk drive?
Trust me,
the hard disk drive.
Compatibility issues is the problem.
Compatibility issues, and then loading times.
Compatibility issue.
There can be with the tech.
We're used to it now.
Bloody, I'm gonna need you to lower your man. Did you take a line of coke before you got on here, my dude?
I'm trying to put the true facts out there and break it down for people.
Let's just talk on a normal level here, all right? We don't need to yell. So what I'm trying to say is, basically, what you're trying to say, could there be a compatibility issue? Yeah, there could be. What I'm trying to say, there's definitely going to be a storage issue, because if you have your hard drive, right, your basic hard drive that's an 8 terabyte or whatever, the load times are going to be so different. It's going to be shocking, right? If you go from your internal, which is a super fast, high-tech SSD, and then somehow you get your other hard drive to be compatible, you know how slow those load times are going to be for next-gen games? It's going to be ridiculous because load times on current-gen games are ridiculous.
Yeah, here's the thing. You're going to have to pick and choose which games you're going to put on that SSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no getting around that. You're going to be deleting games.
And that's a personal issue. Yeah, I understand that's going to hurt the consumer in some aspects, but that's still no different than what a lot of people are doing now. I'm just saying that sounds like such a spoiled first world problem.
No, it's
that
not.
we are
Trust
having.
me.
Yes, it is.
Take a poll.
Oh my God. We cannot wait
Bloody,
we cannot wait 30 seconds to load
you gotta lower your
seconds.
tone. I have to boot
I'm
you,
just
dude.
I'm
All
just
right?
saying, man.
I'm gonna put you in the brig. All right.
I think people. I think corporations like Microsoft and Sony are going under the assumption that people are going to want to bring their huge capacity drives forward that they already have now for their consoles.
Yeah.
But so like the whole cost issue with these SSDs that we think that they're going to have, and people are saying that they're going to be M.2 drives in the next Xboxes. M.2 drives are ridiculously expensive, but I think a cost measure.
Grab your balls. What are they going to use those? Yes or no? Either Xbox or PlayStation. Grab your balls. Come on.
The current quote unquote leak, and I say these in air quotes again, is that both Lockhart and Anaconda are going to be using M.2 drives. Will they? I don't know.
I want your guesstimate, Hyena.
I don't know.
You,
honestly,
anybody?
The reason why I'm torn on this is because, like I said before, they're ridiculously expensive. However, there is cost measures where I think somebody said this in the chat earlier. I think one of the cost measures that they can do, both Sony and Microsoft, for making this cheaper for the consumer, is that they will probably solder it to the motherboard. If they solder it to the board, then you're going to cut down costs by a fraction of what it actually is at retail. If they end up doing that, then I can totally see them doing sticking M.2 drives in the next gen consoles. But like, I think they're at maximum. I honestly think at maximum these are going to be like 500 gig drives in the machines, and they're going to be banking are hoping that the consumers are going to bring their high capacity drives, external drives forward. And so like they'll kind of pass the buck that way in that sense.
Do you guys have go ahead, Noof.
I think, the solid state drive thing, it'll be a big selling point. It'll be like the 4K on the box kind of a deal. Right now it's solid state drive. Some people don't even know what a solid state drive is.
It's true.
At the end of the day, it's a benefit for the consumer, and it'll certainly be a benefit to load times. How much, like I said, remains to be seen. It all depends on how each developer optimizes said games for said drives and the type of drives they use, as Bloody alluded to. But at the end of the day, I don't look at it as being a deal breaker. If the Xbox comes out and they say they're sticking with the standard hard drive and PlayStation's got the solid state, okay, their stuff is going to should.
Oh man, that would be.
Well, it'll be a big fanboy thing. It's got a solid state.
No, that would hurt my feelings personally.
But for me, it's not a deal breaker. It depends on the cost to the consumer. Like you said, either which way, I don't see them going above 500 gigs. I think that even now, 500 gigs is almost a stretch. It's going to add a lot of cost to the console, especially with the kind of power and the tech they're already touting. So it'd be real interesting to see where this thing drops from a price point without someone taking a massive hit here.
Yeah, shout out to Robert Olson with the $10 super chat. Great show. We appreciate it, my dude. Let's move on to the next topic.
Hold on, Salty, can I get a question for the chat and and you guys? Real quick, I just want to know, do you guys say it's a 500 gig or even a terabyte SSD, whatever it is? You're not going to fit your entire library on that thing, okay? You're going to have X amount of games that you're going to be able to fit on there. Do you guys have a problem? Because I personally do not. I'm going to fall in the number 2 category. If you have a problem with having to, uninstall or move your, saved games, your downloaded games to another hard drive or to an external or whatever, because the SSD, you're going to want the games you play most on the SSD. So I just want to know if you guys have a problem with moving stuff around or even re-downloading it.
That's a great question.
To the SSD.
Yeah, if you got real quick, if you have a problem with it, type a 1. If you don't, type a 2. Go ahead, Hyena.
I don't have a problem with it, but like I said before, I just wonder if game developers make a game around SSDs, how that's actually going to affect games if you put said game on an external drive. It's just something that I wonder about.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to, and it's definitely something to talk about when considering upgrading to the next gen console. But for people that have their mindsets on upgrading, it's definitely not going to be a deal breaker. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. We'll see when the time comes. We'll figure things out here. Hold on. Bring this up. Bringing my topics up. KhAoS ThEoRy with the $2 super chat. You guys think MS is making a custom SSD cheaper?
They're not making a custom SSD. They're using one, but they're modifying it in the way that it's going to fit inside the form factor of the new console and the architecture. That's what they are saying on how to help cut the price.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that with the SSD, that it's going to be all nice and shiny. It's going to add a cost, but at the end of the day, SSD is going to be expensive. Yes, there's going to be load times. It's not going to completely eliminate it. There's always going to exist. All games are going to exist. Load times are going to be no matter what. Even using these high-speed HDDs now or SSDs on older games, load times are still out like all over the place. It all depends on the game. It all depends on what's preloaded, what has to be reloaded, or anything like
the
that.
Chat's saying
that's what it is.
Then it's custom, right? So
yeah.
Long story short, yeah, it's probably going to be custom. Well, let's get off the SSD topic, man. Let's move on.
That made me hot.
Yeah, both this is interesting. Both Democrats and Republicans agree loot boxes are bad. All right, so earlier this week, Republican
Is it
Senator.
bloody off day? Because goddamn,
it's cut off the host day, that's for sure. Anyway, earlier this week, Republican Senator John Hawley announced a bill that would regulate the use of loot boxes and microtransactions in games played by minors. So anyway, let's talk about this. It seems like both parties are on board here. It seems like this is coming to a head here when it comes to loot boxes and the government regulating said loot boxes in America. This is happening in Europe and around the world. Frankly, there's a lot of governments that are stepping in. I'll give my take, and then we'll move on to the panel, and then we can have some discussions and hopefully not blow each other's ears out and the chat. So anyway, what I think, I'm not all about having the government start regulating things in my life, and this isn't a political thing. I just don't want them saying what we can have in video games and what we can't, because where does it end, right? But when it comes to these loot boxes, I do think that, and I do know this for a fact, that these companies hire psychologists to know the psychology behind what gets people addicted, and they use them, frankly, in these loot boxes, the colors, the sounds, the way things move. It looks like a slot machine, for God's sake. You know what I'm saying? So the fact of the matter is, no matter what you say, you can say, oh my God, it's the parents' fault. They need to regulate what their kids are doing. The parents can't watch their kids 24/7. If your kid grabs your credit card and decides to rack up charges, or you have, something unprotected accidentally, and then they can go ham on microtransactions.
Oh my God, I'd whip their butts.
So it is what it is, but it looks like it's gotten to a point where the government feels like they're going to step in. And once they do, I mean, a lot of these companies are going to have to change the way they do things. EA, I'm looking at you. Activision, I'm looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about it. Let's start off with Noof.
Well, let's put it this way, right? I mean, loot boxes are, in a sense, a form of gambling to a certain degree. It's not like DLC or other things where you know exactly what it is you're paying for. And I don't agree with governments coming in and regulating and having that say. But at the same time, I don't entirely blame them, because I think there's millions of young, influential minds out there, the kids that really go to town and spend a ton of money on these crates, and they don't know what they're getting. They're just basically spending it away for a chance at stuff. I mean, that's a problem. You don't know what you're getting. At all, and that's a big problem. They're spending millions of dollars. I'm sure somebody is look, I'm sure if it comes down to it, if they could find a way maybe to make tax dollars off the loot crates, they might loosen their ties a little bit, be like, yeah, if we're getting a cut of this pie, maybe we'll ease up on it. And trust me, don't worry, they'll probably try to figure out a way to do that for sure if things go forward. Like I said, it's one of those gray areas, you know what I mean? It's still part of gaming, but there's a lot of kids out there spending, and it's not just kids, but I mean, they're probably the primary suspect. Like someone who would get influential in playing like Fortnite and stuff like that would easily just, I want to get these crates, and then they're spending all this money, and then it's just a random luck of the draw. Do you get one, or you end up getting, you spending $100 and half of your stuff is completely random. It's almost like buying, baseball cards and hockey cards and stuff. You don't know what you're getting in the pack. It's a little bit weird, but at least with that sense, you're getting something. With gaming, a lot of times you're not really getting very much for your money. So it's a gray area. I think the government should just stay the hell out, to be honest with you. This is, but at the same time, I definitely think there should be a committee that just maybe looks at what these guys are doing and maybe has them restructure it to a little bit to make it a little bit fairer, or increase the odds. Say, like a loot crate, for example, should come with a little thing on it that says, like, if you're paying $5, well, you're going to have a 90% chance or an 80% chance of getting these items in that crate. If you're spending $1.50, you got a 30% chance of getting them in said crate, or something like, you know what I mean? Like, just there should be something there, just so the consumers are a little bit more aware of what they're spending their bucks on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they could do that too, but like, does it? But then you gotta like prove it to be untrue, right? Because I remember when Smite, in like the first 3 or 4 seasons of Smite, they were everything good in because you would buy these boxes, right? And they're essentially loot crates. They have, and it tells you what's in there, right? So at least they did that much. But all the good items were at the bottom 100% of the time. I don't know if they changed that. I do believe they have changed that, but still, that's a dirty tactic to have all the good stuff at the very bottom, and to have like these little pictures and stuff you have to get out of the way first. You know what I'm saying? Before you get a legit skin or a voice pack or something like that. But my problem with this is, as New said, in loot crates you don't know what you're getting, and that is a gamble in and of itself. That I have a problem with. Now, is it, let's make this a law to prevent, let's make a law to prevent this? Is it that big? That's a little too far, in my opinion. But I put a poll out on Twitter this week. It didn't, I must have put it out at a bad time because it didn't get too much traction. But I said, so if loot boxes' fate depended on the opinions of those on Twitter, let's see how it would go down. And I said, vote yes to ban loot boxes in the U.S. or vote no, saying you don't think there needs to be laws governing the subject. Well, it's a 63% that say yes, let's ban loot boxes in the U.S. So, but the crazy Greek dude commented, and I got to read this to you because I really agree with this. He said, aren't most games designed for kids? He said, it should be up to the parents to monitor what their kids are purchasing, and that I completely agree with. He said, I'm not a fan of loot boxes or loot crates, but if that's what the devs want, then there should be some sort of indicator on the box and digital store, which that I completely agree with too. Like, I don't think we need to create laws at this point. There's so many other ways we could correct this issue or help the issue out, then let's ban them for life, It's a little dramatic in my opinion.
Hyena Den, what do you think, man?
I'm gonna pass on this topic because
okay,
it's just
that's cool.
Well,
it's all right.
I mean, like when it comes to the whole, like gambling, loot boxes, whatever. I don't think so. Loot boxes as a whole. I know when people say when it's done right, it's not a problem. And somebody will look at you side eye and it's like, well, no, they shouldn't exist, period. And I'm like, it depends on what they are and how they're being used. I like when it comes to like the whole topic of gambling as a whole, there are some games that feature gambling, that kids have access to, and it ends up being fun. There's no real way you can put money into it or anything like that. These are kind of older games. You look at stuff like
simulated gambling.
Well, you look at games like Test Drive Unlimited. It had a casino expansion, and that was probably one of the most fun things about that game. You have Fallout New Vegas, it being based in Las Vegas. Obviously, they're going to have casinos and stuff like that, and nobody really looked at that as being bad because of the way that it was done, and where you couldn't throw in actual real world money.
Red Dead 2 has gambling.
There's that as well. With loot boxes, there are some games that do loot boxes right. There are some games that do loot boxes horrifically wrong. I think when I recently came back a few minutes ago, I caught the tail end of I don't know who said it, where I think it was Noof that said, adjusting the odds of some of the stuff can help its outlook. If everything's being all the good stuff is being thrown to the highest tiers that you can never reach, some of the stuff, if it's adjusted, I think it'll have a better outlook onto it. But I'm just so torn on this whole loot box stuff because it's like I've seen cases where it's done okay, and then I've seen cases where it's done horrifically wrong and should have never been done in the first place. So I don't know.
It's a pretty political subject, so I get it. Bloody, what do you think, man?
All right, give me a second because this is one of those topics that I've been going back and forth with people about it for a while.
Okay.
Do loot boxes need to go? Yes or no? Yes, in the way that they're used and manipulated on the human psyche and how influential they can be to people's expenditures. They have a problem. Yes, there are companies that do things right. Look at old school Smite. Really want to look about MTXs as a whole. Look at things like Warframe. Look at Path of Exile. They do a lot of those microtransactions right. However, there are a lot of companies that don't. However, with the way that games are becoming, with the games as a service model, especially with a lot of games that are going free to play or launching free to play, there's talking about, hey, these games are going to be free to play. There's going to be no cost to buy in. We're going to put out free content over time. These companies need to make some sort of recouped revenue. This is the way that they do it. Now, yes, it's hard to justify them in games where you have to buy the game, such as Activision with Call of Duty. You have to buy into those games. You have to, then they have all the weapon skins and all the emotes and all the different character skins, all the voice lines, things like Apex, things like Fortnite, those kinds of things. You have to put in real money. However, some of those games succeed very well and are able to be sustained for a long time. That's great. They need to make some sort of revenue that way, because you can't put a game out for free with free updates and have no way to make any sort of revenue. You know, there has to be something that could be done. However, there has to be a better way to go about it. I'm completely against the bill being introduced because of the fact that we as consumers need to help the industry self-regulate. The industry is always self-regulated. It needs to continue being self-regulated. When the government gets involved into any industry, there tends to be so much oversight that they start to monitor every little thing. They start censoring certain things. They say what we can do, what we can't do, and that our freedom of choice, our freedom of expression gets stripped away from us. The government gets so heavily involved that there's no aspect for any sort of creative vision that doesn't exist with whatever they set. We as an industry and as consumers who support that industry need to continue to vote with our wallet. Yes, it's hard to do. However, we have to make stands at certain points when it gets to the point where it becomes too much.
I think there's just too many idiots out there.
There are absolutely too many idiots out there. But when government regulation comes into it, it holds everything back. Does the government regulate TV? Does the government regulate music? Does the government regulate any of that? No. Is there good content that exists within all of those? Yes. Is there bad content that exists within all of those? Yes. But what do each of those industries do? They self-regulate and have their own stances on what's allowed, what exists within certain constraints, and what does not. Yes, it's hard to control everything. However, they know that if the government gets involved, that any freedom, any choice, any aspect that they had before gets stripped away. That's why I'm completely against these bills with these government regulations, because of the fact that it's a hindrance to the industry as a whole. Yes, it's necessary in certain points, but we cannot allow that to happen, because when that does, it hurts the industry overall. That's my viewpoints on this.
Awesome. Yeah, I know this can get a little political, man, but it's an interesting topic to me. Don't want to, we don't need to get too political on it. It's just, it's a topic that comes up and it affects gamers, gamers in America. It's been brought up over in Europe as well. So I don't know, man. You guys can go ahead, Titan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, here's another little side thing. All right, so they ban loot boxes, but isn't a battle pass pretty much the same thing as a loot box with a different name on it?
No, it's not.
I mean, they're basically the same thing. You're still paying money. At least you know what you're going to get with a battle pass. That's the only real difference.
So that's a huge difference, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference between vanilla and chocolate? I mean, they're about the same thing.
Okay.
All right. So if they show you what's in the loot box, then it's no longer a loot box. I mean, why don't they?
Yes, it's called a loot box. It's in a box. You don't know what it is. It's like a slot machine.
But hang on. At that point, it's not a loot box. It's a microtransaction, because it's saying, hey, you do all this stuff. You pay $20. You're funding us. This is all the stuff that we're offering for the season. You play all long enough, you can unlock all this. If you don't get it and you don't finish it, well, tough shit. But you know what you're getting into. That's where it comes into. At least it's a little bit more upfront about it, but that's what it is.
It takes the chance aspect out of it. You know what you're gonna get.
And that's perfectly acceptable. I think that's fine. But I was like, we still have to self-regulate as an industry. We have to hold ourselves accountable for what the companies do And
you
what
can't
we
hold Noof accountable for anything he does. You can't hold any random accountable for what they do. There's just too many idiots.
But I know, but that's what I'm saying is that we as consumers have to hang on.
Saying that.
No, shut up for a second, Type. This is one of those aspects. Yes, because the fact that this is the point, because the fact that this information gets so misconstrued and it throws it out. I'm saying not you as an individual. I'm saying us as a whole, as consumers. We have a responsibility for what we support, what we don't support. Yes, we cannot take all the blame for what little Johnny 2x4 down the street spent $10,000 buying all the random shit that he wanted from little fucking Sally's Sugar Farm fucking game, whatever the hell it is. However, we the rest of us have to say, no, we don't support that. We're not gonna fund that, and we have to continue to not. Yes, there's always gonna be idiots.
Bloody, I've done that.
Every industry. No,
Bloody, I've done that. I've done exactly what you said.
Idiots.
Bloody, I've done exactly what you said. I've spoke with my wallet. I'm like one of the cheapest gamers there is. Yet there's still random Johnny Two Shoes, rich boy or whatever.
Man, you guys' names are weird. Sally Sugar Farm, Jimmy Two Shoes.
Yes. Sally Sugar Farm, yes. But what I'm saying is that, yes, but we cannot let it get to the point where there's so much government oversight. Yes, there has to be some sort of step in, but we have to help push for that. We have to push for self-regulation, not government regulation, because when government gets involved, that becomes it takes away so much of what made our industry and our medium so unique, so open, so creative. It takes away our choice and it takes away our freedom.
Tune in to CNN next week. Bloody will continue his public.
My question is, why are the government even considering this? Like, what is it to them? Is it just because there are a faction of parents complaining to the government and they feel that it's their duty to stand up and do something?
Well, certain parents have spoken out, but I think certain lawmakers also caught wind of it, because part of it started with the Hawaiian congressman Chris, I can't remember his last name, when they first happened about a year ago, with everything that happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2, because of how invested that was, how much that they tried to take out of control and kind of really push heavily microtransactions and all of that, and the loot boxes and everything. That's where it kind of started.
Let's move on.
Yeah, we're moving on. The stripping dyno is going off. You know, that's the signal to move on. So we'll move on to the next topic, shall we? We got some Patreon questions, so we're gonna get to those. They're pretty interesting, actually. Appreciate the Patreons out there. Dfunkt Jestr says, he's saying this doesn't really pertain to any of the stuff that's going on right now, but does releasing the two Xbox versions at launch when the next gen starts give Sony the opportunity to release a PS5 Pro a few years later that is more powerful than the Anaconda will be? Does this give them the chance to sit back and see what the upgrade Xbox has to show in terms of performance, then one up them with better tech? What do you guys think? Good talk.
I guess.
I guess. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, what was the question? I didn't understand.
Oh, shit. All right. So Xbox is coming out with the Anaconda and the Lockhart, two versions, right? The PlayStation's coming out with one. Does this give PlayStation opportunity to come out with a Pro a year or two later and then one up the current gen and give them the advantage after they see the tech of the Xbox Anaconda? So the
Pretty
Anaconda
much, potentially.
Yeah, so the Anaconda would have that power for only a limited amount of time.
I mean, wasn't that the same way with what happened right now with this generation? It would just be another back and forth. Right now, they're launching out with something that's hard to compare to, and go straight out the gate. Yeah, if Sony waits 2-3 years and puts out something stronger, what makes them think that Microsoft's not doing the same thing?
Yeah, if Sony puts out a stronger box, Xbox is not going to be far behind them.
It's just going to be a constant, inevitable back and forth. I guarantee you, the second that they are finished, and they're probably already finished now with architecting and figuring out the specs that they want, and everything's already built, prototyping the PS5 and next Xboxes. They are probably already thinking about right now their mid-gen refreshes. It's already planned and ready to go. So yeah.
So it's just a continuing cycle, is what you're saying.
Of what
right?
we have now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mighty Ryan says, do you think we'll see a mid-gen refresh for the Switch similar to the PS4 Pro, Xbox One X? Although I would personally like to see one. I don't know if it really makes sense seeing how the Switch got released halfway into this generation. I'll answer this first. I don't think there's going to be a traditional mid-gen refresh like the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X, but there will be changes that are put into the Switch. Maybe a smaller version, maybe some modifications with just minor things, but we're not going to be seeing upgraded tech to that certain extent. So anybody else have any comments on that?
No, well, the thing is with the Switch, it's selling really well. Nintendo's not, there's no gun to their head to get another system out. The Switch is doing phenomenally well. But like you said, I would not be surprised if there is at least minor modifications made to the Switch, like maybe a different type of heat sink or something that dissipates the heat and makes it run maybe a little quicker, a little bit more onboard memory. It's only got 32 measly gigabytes built in. So maybe they put a little bit more on board and save people the trouble having to go out and search for a micro SD card. Mind you, those are not that expensive, but regardless, I mean, when you look at your competitors who have, basically a standard now of almost a 1 terabyte on board, and you got 32 gigs, like it's just something to add up. So yeah, I definitely think there could be a revision, but I don't think they're going to go out and change the formula. I mean, what could you do really to make the Switch much better other than probably make it a little shade smaller? Like, would you want it smaller? I mean, because if you make it an all-in-one console, that's going to defeat the whole purpose. That's what made the Switch big, was that you could dock it or you could put it together and take it where you want it, right? So I don't see much happening there.
You just can't guess what Nintendo is doing. They're coming out with cardboard VR, for Christ's sake.
Cardboard VR.
That's true.
Yep. I mean, what I honestly think that they're going to do is I think they might put just a little bit more into the actual screen, what you actually carry around with you outside of the dock, and maybe just make it a little bit bigger. For those who actually have a Switch, that it's kind of loose in the dock. So I think that if they were to make it a little bit, I don't want to say heftier, but they add just a little bit more, they might be able to add that extra space for another internal hard drive that may be a little bit bigger. I think they're still going to have to go with a micro SD slot. In all reality, I don't think there's any way to get around that. Luckily, I mean, micro SDs aren't too expensive, but it's still just one of those. Yeah. What's it? It's an inconvenience thing. I honestly think that they may make some minor adjustments and improvements, but I don't think performance-wise we'll see too much significance. Maybe a little bit more RAM, maybe a slightly bigger internal storage, but I don't think we're gonna see anything like jaw-dropping crazy. Unless they add like a new style screen, instead of the regular LCD, they might add something that allows it to have a higher color output or anything like that.
Just to let you guys know, this is just off topic. It is with the Switch. Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry, he's talking about Switch's boost mode, so it's being tested. Yep. So they're up. They're doing some cool things. All right. So they're changing the clock speed configurations, and they're trying to boost the power that's within the Nintendo. So they're trying to use what it already has. So they're up in the clock speeds, and it's actually pretty dramatic, honestly. If you look at like what the megahertz were before, and then what they were after. So stay tuned to that. They might just put that in as an update. So they might take advantage of what they have in the system right now, which will make games run better and stuff like that. So that's cool. Well, we have the last half hour. We're going to be getting into the main topic, which is E3. That's what the main title is. So we're going to be getting into the dates, E3, what's going on, our predictions, all that good stuff. We had some information released by Nintendo about their Treehouse event. That's going to be going on. We have, let me pull up the schedule. So we have E3 2019 dates. E3 2019 is going to run from June 11th through the 13th. Shout out to Mr. Boomstick. He's going to be there with his 4K camera. So if you guys are going to E3, hit him up. He'll give you an autograph there. Next, we have...
I may be at Disneyland.
Oh, really? Oh,
I mean,
you can see Titan Drago there,
camera.
too. Bloody Knuckles is going to be there, dude. Everybody's going to be there but me. I'm going to be preparing for my baby to be born and all that good stuff. So let's give the dates out, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff. Okay, EA Play is going to happen from June 7th through the 9th. Live stream scheduled, but it's TBA right now. If you guys didn't know, EA is not going to do a traditional presentation. So next up we have Microsoft. It'll be June 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and et cetera, et cetera. Bethesda is going to be going June 9th, so after Microsoft at 5:30 Pacific. Ubisoft's going to be going the next day at June 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific. Square Enix going to be going June 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Nintendo Direct is to be determined, and Devolver Digital, I don't know what that is, but it's pre-recorded stuff. So let's start off.
Devolver Digital is the computer company.
Computer
or the
company?
PC gaming, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where you can watch these live streams, I got all this information. I'll link it in the description. But let's start off with EA Play. They're going to be I think the main thing and the main attraction there is the new Star Wars game. They're going to be showing off gameplay there. What do you guys think that you can expect from EA, considering they're not going to be having a presentation? Not much, right?
I honestly, I'm not really sad that they're not going to do their traditional stuff, because the past few weren't very good anyways. When I look at EA, there's only one single thing out of their entire roster of IPs that I care even a tiny bit amount of, and that's Need for Speed. And even then, I don't really care about Need for Speed that much anymore. So and they said that there's going to be a new Need for Speed game coming out this year. So I'm just hoping that they're going to go way, way, way back to the roots, circa, the start of the last generation, 2005.
Can we just get Underground, like an Underground remake? That would be just perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. They don't even have to bring out a new game. If they remade Underground 1, Underground 2, Hot Pursuit 1, Hot Pursuit 2, or Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, everybody would be happy. That's what I want. I don't think that's going to happen. So, with EA, I don't know what they're trying. Well, actually, I just remembered, outside of Need for Speed, there are also rumors that there might be a remaster, remake, whatever it's going to be, of it might be Battlefield Bad Company 2. And if this is the case, I am buying it day one. That is one game that I will get from
I've been
EA.
hearing that so much, though, that same rumor. There's certain rumors that just keep getting repeated over and over, and then people are it's just crazy,
Well,
for the people
is,
for the people that like for the people that like, Call of Duty, Bad Company 2 was one of those games where it is still a Battlefield game, but it is closer to Call of Duty than people might think. And that's a Battlefield game from EA that people really love. And so if they're doing this, dude, people will be really happy. I just hope they don't fuck it up.
Dude, I have lost all faith in EA. This is the best EA to me ever, because the two companies that don't deserve to be there, because Sony hasn't put out anything out in a year, and EA has done nothing but be pieces of trash for a year. Both of these companies don't deserve to be there because of those reasons. And EA's just gonna have Star Wars, which is a good game, but I mean that's really Respawn. They just acquired them. It's Respawn will never, in my eyes, be EA. To me, you just can't combine the two. It's like trying to mix oil and water, okay? But anyways, other than that, they're going to have Madden, they're going to have FIFA. And as far as Bad Company, too, I mean, EA hasn't made a good first-person shooter, and I don't know how long.
I wouldn't say
Apex
that.
Legends?
Well, then what would you say? Like you said, that's Respawn. That doesn't
They're
count.
part of EA, bro.
That doesn't count.
They're part of
They
EA, bro.
acquired Respawn.
So
okay?
when
that ain't EA.
When Ninja Theory puts a game out, you're gonna be like, man, that's not Microsoft because that's Ninja Theory.
Here's my thing. I just have a lot
Give
of
him the L.
respect.
Give him the L.
I just have a lot of respect for Respawn, okay? They made two of the best games ever, all time. And then EA buys them up, and then all of a sudden, I just don't like. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a me problem. I just don't like them being under their umbrella.
I think what Titan and me are trying to say is there's not a lot to look forward to when it comes to EA this year. besides some stuff. Very few stuff. But
What?
I mean-
You're not excited for the next edition of Madden 20?
no, like, dude, I don't. People look at me like, oh, you like racing games, so you should like you'll probably like Madden or FIFA. I'm like, no, I don't. I do not give any cares to sport. I really don't like sports games at all.
So someone told you that if you like Need for Speed, that you might like Madden.
No, people think like because obviously racing is a sport, yes, but it's like yes, racing is.
No, I know it's a sport.
I thought I was gonna get into it, man.
No,
I was like,
no. I was like, that is like two totally separate.
Yeah, I just don't care about those types of sports games. Like, I really don't.
That's
So
like telling
you guys aren't
someone
excited
who likes soccer,
for-
hey, you like basketball.
You guys aren't
Right.
excited for Plants vs Zombies 3 or whatever?
Hey, I would be excited for
That
Garden
could be
Warfare
cool.
3.
I think it's gonna be good.
Garden Warfare 1 and 2 were
Yeah,
so
yeah.
underrated. They were actually really fun. I would
Yeah.
actually be excited for a Garden Warfare 3.
So that was probably one of the main things I'm looking forward to. Be honest, besides Star Wars, I mean, not much else
That's
there.
true.
You know?
That's true. I've played that with my boys,
Yeah,
both
my
of
kid.
1 and 2, and 2 was actually a really good. It had a lot of progression from the first one. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you got a point there.
They should make a sequel to Dante's Inferno, but then again, there's not a microtransaction
be
probably
awesome.
for their liking. But that would
That'd
be cool.
awesome. I love that game.
Yeah. Hey, that was a really cool game. That was very much a hack and slash in the vein of old school
Yep.
God of War. But no, like I'll be at EA Plays, so I'll
That's cool.
I already know what they're gonna be showing. They're gonna be showing their new EA Sports game. So of course we're gonna see new NBA Live. We'll see something about new Madden, new FIFA, all that good stuff. The biggest thing that was their main attraction that really was hard to get a ticket into was the gameplay for Fallen Order for Star Wars, and I think that's the only thing that they really got going for them. I know they're going to be talking about updates to all their other stuff, but I mean, outside of maybe the few small indie games and stuff that they support, like how we saw with Unravel and Unravel 2 and anything like that, I don't really think EA has a lot really going.
NBA Live, come on, NBA Live.
No, I already said that. I already
The
said they're gonna
Sims
show the
4
sports stuff.
expansion. Oh my god, I can't wait, dude. FIFA.
I mean,
oh my god. No, I'm just kidding.
They show, like I said, they already sold. They're not sold. They were putting people in to sign up for what they want to see, and of course, like I said, it was all the sports stuff, and then what they already got. I believe Apex was on there, so was Anthem and everything else, and. As we kind of seen with everything that's coming from EA, everything's kind of in such a hot state right now that literally Star Wars Fallen Order is their only like big
only
excited
hope.
title. Yeah, it's their only hope. Honestly, it's the Obi-Wan for them right now. That's their only hope going forward. And unless they show off a Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 3, they've completely not utilized anything, and it's just gonna be bad all the way around. So I'll see what goes on over there, and I'll be the one reporting from the front lines on what's going on. But I don't have any like real high hope for anything coming from
Let's move
EA
on to
at the moment.
Square Enix then. Okay, I don't know, man. What are they going to show? Final Fantasy VII, Dragon Quest Builders 2 on the Nintendo Switch. And some Kingdom Hearts DLC, but that's about it for them. Honestly, Square Enix. Any comments there? Probably not, because it is
Not a huge Square Enix fan.
Yeah, me neither. The only thing tangible that I can see them showing that I would be interested in personally is like more updates on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, right? I think that's something that they might do, but everything else, like I know they said Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be there, so people will be looking for that. But everything else, like I don't know what they're going to do personally.
I'm more hype about Sea of Thieves than EA, Square Enix, and Sony put together. Okay.
I mean, I'm right there with the stuff from Final Fantasy. Like, I'll be interested to see more of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, the DLC that they announced for Kingdom Hearts right now is that they're porting over all the pre-order weapons that were available to different retailers. Those are going to be available for everyone. But for the most part, I was like, unless they say, hey, Xbox, we're finally going to release the story so far for you guys and port that over, there's only so much news that they could say for Kingdom Hearts going forward right now, for a while anyways. I want to see whatever they're gonna do. Like I said, they'll show more of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hope that they have more news for Tomb Raider right now, but a little bit of kind of what they got is kind of up in the air, because they had a few games that just launched over the past few months, and you didn't hear about them because of the fact that, oh my god, it was awful. Like one of them that I was actually kind of looking forward to was Survive Last,
Brain
I believe
fart.
it was called.
Yeah.
But it was a survival game that was kind of cyberpunk, and it was done by the artist who worked on Metal Gear Solid with Hideo Kojima, and it looked pretty cool. When the game came out, it was so, I don't even want to say average, it was just kind of really broken, and it was being hated on even in Japan before it even came to the West. It was severely hated. Like, this is a game that launched at like $50 that dropped down to like 20 in the span of a week.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. So Square Enix got some work to do. So if they surprise anything outside of what they've already said, I might actually have some hope for them. But
going through this stuff, it's kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it's lowering my hype level, okay? Because this is kind of,
it's from some of the third party. Like, the biggest announcement that they can make right now is that, hey, we're gonna make Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox. Like, that would be a surprise excitement announcement for me, because I want that game, because that is a good MMO.
Just look
if
at
they announce that.
No Sony, and then we're going through the main publishers, and it's just like,
yeah. EA,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, EA has been kind of in a hot spot
EA,
for a minute.
Square Enix, and then we're about to talk about Bethesda and talk about a snooze
Bethesda
fest.
has me hype. I'm gonna be in on. I'm gonna be at the Bethesda conference.
Wait,
got
hold
my
up,
ticket for
hold
the
up.
Bethesda conference.
What are you hyped about exactly? Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal, I'll give
and
you that.
Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Man.
Wolfenstein has been such a shining gem of a remake series right alongside Doom.
That's fine.
And people have not given Wolfenstein enough love, because it's completely revamped it in a alternate universe, done a great story of the telling. It's been very mature. They didn't hold back on it, and they have shined every time with the story. Like in 2 with New Colossus, they made, like, people didn't give them enough respect for the way that they portrayed the women in that story, because everyone is so focused on, young, blazing American gun running hero BJ Blazkowicz. They didn't realize what his wife was doing, Anna, or the leader of the resistance being, a single mother who just fucking watched her husband get his head blown off and is still kicking ass and blowing everyone up while taking care of a baby. Like, I mean, it's badass.
Looking back at, this entire E3 as a whole, like you say it's a snooze fest, and it really is, but like for me, it's no different than it has always been. I'd say that like in almost like a positive.
The hype level came from the big 3.
So exactly. So what I mean by that is EA has always been boring at E3 to me. Square Enix has never really interested me in the first place, outside of like Tomb Raider stuff, right? And Devolver Digital, I don't even watch them. You look at the main 3 is who I always look at. Sony, Microsoft. I do watch Nintendo stuff, and then Bethesda.
Bethesda, real quick. Bethesda is not really showing anything new.
I think
wait.
One of the biggest things I think they can show this year is gameplay for Starfield. That is what I'm looking for. No, there's no offer. Starfield.
No, Starfield.
No.
Let me correct you guys before you build this hype train up. They're not going to show the new Elder Scrolls, and they're not going to show Starfield. Those are both not going to be there.
And those are the 2 games that
those are not going to be there. They're not going to be there.
I don't know.
They're not going to be there. They already said.
I'm starting to think that it might be there, because they've been teasing a lot of cryptic stuff on Twitter.
I doubt it, dude. I would bet you $100 it's not going to be there.
They're doing like Picasso paintings of like hinting Starfield on Twitter, and so all of the biggest Bethesda YouTubers out there are thinking Starfield, that we're actually going to get gameplay this year, because remember, even though they announced it last year, Starfield has been in development for 6 years.
They're definitely gonna talk about Starfield.
Now the
so
Elder
Tech,
Scrolls,
the exact quote from
that.
Tech Radar here says, unfortunately, those that are expecting to see new trailers from the next hotly anticipated entry in the Elder Scrolls franchise, Elder Scrolls, and Bethesda's ambitious sci-fi project Starfield are going to be disappointed. Bethesda's game studio executive producer Todd Howard told a room full of attendees at PAX East that it's still too early to talk about the games and asked everyone to please be patient.
Yeah, let's be honest. Todd Howard is one of those guys who always says, "Hey guys, we're not going to show anything until they show it." He will literally deny everything up until the minute before he actually does it. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Last year, they said they weren't planning on talking about anything Elder Scrolls related, period. And they did.
Yeah,
so
they showed some BST.
N6.
They showed off Blades, which they'll probably talk about again, right?
I'm thinking Elder Scrolls 6 teaser.
No,
just
they're
a
not going to talk. I guarantee you, they're not going to be talking about a new Elder Scrolls.
They already did an Elder Scrolls 6 teaser. Starfield, I personally want to see gameplay for Starfield. The Elder Scrolls 6, I honestly believe, like I am 100% in agreement that game is way off into the distance because I don't even think they started that until like maybe 2-3 years ago. That game's long into the distance.
If Starfield was so far in development, like you're saying, why did they show shit last year?
It's an extra
because of the fact that they were focusing on blowing everyone away with.
So
with
what about Obsidian?
Let's be. Elder Scrolls has always been big. Is right now while there's hype for Starfield, Elder Scrolls is one of their big selling points besides Fallout. And
but they're going head to head. They're going head to head with Obsidian's new game, which has lots of hype right now, right? And it's going to be comparable. So they had a colossal failure with 76,
right? They didn't want to gouge themselves. Right.
Last year, they didn't want to take away hype from Fallout 76. Last year, Fallout 76 was their big announcement, and it was a huge announcement. It just fell flat on its face when it came out, like a 4-year-old riding a bicycle for the first time or whatever. But so I do think they will have Starfield stuff, and just for that reason of itself, because last year was all about Fallout 76. They didn't want to, They have like one major announcement every year.
They do. Honestly, when it comes to E3, I'm always hyped for, no matter what they show, I'm always hyped to watch Microsoft, Nintendo's, and Bethesda's conferences because they usually always have something in there that one thing that you can hang your hat on and say like that looked really good. Whether that ended up panning out or not, it could be a totally different story. I just hope that Starfield is one of those things where they show gameplay that I could say yes, look at this, and even if it's not that, something as small as, and I know this is going to be insignificant for a lot of people, but if they remade Fallout 3 or Oblivion, I would probably cry because I love those games to death. And
quit saying the word remade. I hate it.
You need remaster.
Anything, all of the above.
I mean, those games would honestly have to get remade because the engines that they were worked on are so poorly coded.
But again, they're not adding anything. They're not changing the story or anything. They're just putting it in a shiny new engine with a new coat of paint. That's a remake.
I would call it
when you look at Crash Bandicoot trilogy and you look at the Spyro trilogy compared to what they were on the PS1, would you say those are a remake or a remaster?
Remaster.
Because those are remasters, exactly. So going from Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 into a new engine like we saw with Fallout 4, that's just a remaster. Unless they significantly change anything and completely change the story and rewrite things. Then it would be a remake.
Who gives a shit? Remaster, remake, potato to potato. Let's move on to the next topic. Tomato. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Bethesda. But what about Ubisoft? What do you guys think? Ubisoft. Let's start off with Noof. He seems excited.
Ubisoft,
baby,
They're gonna bring it. Their shows have steadily been getting better and better each and every year. And you know what? With this announcement of Ghost Recon today makes me even more hopeful that they're going to be dropping some Sam Fisher up in this house at this E3. I know we've been waiting for it for a while, but I really I can smell a little Splinter Cell, if you know what I'm saying. I think it's got a comments or Ace No Holds, one of their big franchises. You know, they've got a few Assassin's Creed underneath their belt now. So I mean, what else could they show unless they're going with a completely new IP? You know, so I think they're gonna have a good show. I really don't know what they're gonna display, but I definitely think that'll be one of them.
All right, so I'll read off some of the things that'll probably be there. I haven't heard anything about that Skull and Bones game, but that's probably going to be there.
That needs to be there. That game fell through the. What happened to that game?
Yeah, where did
now.
Sea of Thieves just rock that into burying itself, or what? Like,
dude, I swear, I thought because Sea of Thieves was in a bad spot last year, and Skull and Bones was supposed to come out.
Everybody was saying, "Oh my God, Skull and Bones is going to kill Sea of Thieves."
I was on that train too.
Yeah,
I was like, man, it ain't looking good for Sea of Thieves. I was honestly thinking
from the beginning, I thought Skull and Bones just looked like the ship combat from the Assassin's Creed, and I don't like
you
that
hated
shit.
on that. Then I like the way that game looks. I thought it's like Sea of Thieves Arena, only it looks much better.
But that's what
you don't think so.
But that's what separates the games from each other. Is Sea of Thieves, you're not confined to just your ship. Skull and like that's the one thing that I think is turning me off from Skull and Bones is that it's just ship combat, and I'm like, that's
limited.
That's not really what I want.
Yeah, so
when they re-announce this Skull and Bones and they give you more gameplay, you'll probably get a little more hype for it. Because I remember it's just been so long that the hype has just gone away because we have heard nothing from this game for dang near a year now.
You're not wrong, but I think that if they come with it hard, that Skull and Bones could still exist, because I think it would have a more hardcore combat PvP approach, as well as they all don't forget that they still have a lot of hype building around Beyond Good and Evil 2. They can show any major updates or progress with that, and I think that would get people excited. Of course, there's still the belief about a new Splinter Cell or anything. If it happens, that would be amazing. If not, it'd be kind of disappointing, but I think it's in the work, especially after the backwards compatibility stuff that they just announced with Microsoft putting their whole last gen now on the Xbox One. I definitely think that we'll see more coming from Assassin's Creed. They'll definitely have Ghost Recon's there. Maybe some big news about what's going on with Siege and what's going to be any plans with that. Maybe they'll show off more support for the Crew 2. There's a lot of different things that's going right now on what they have out that they're still supporting and what we don't know of. I think what Ubisoft has going for them is they definitely support their current IPs, but they're always trying to put out something kind of new. And I think that kind of works for them when they have the right teams behind it. So anything that they announce that isn't one of their main titles, I think is always good news, because Ubisoft has been very good about supporting their stuff.
Yeah.
Noof, why is Skull and Bones a no from you?
Man, just never got me excited. It looks cool, but
yeah,
I don't know. Just it's another pirate game, and that's pretty much more an arena pirate game, right?
Yeah, it's pretty limited. What about real quick? Let's talk about Beyond Good and Evil. I'm kind of skeptical about this game getting a release date for a while, man. It just seems like yeah, they've been talking about it and talking about stuff, but man, the scope of this game, man, it just is massive. And if we did get a release date for this game this year, that'd be cool. But man, we'll see. We'll probably see more games. I think that's Bloody. He's cracking his knuckles or bloody knuckles.
I was gonna say, talk about a game that's 17 years out.
Seriously, what is Star Citizen Part 2?
Up in here.
So yeah, whatever. We'll move on because that game ain't coming out anytime soon. Let's talk about Microsoft's conference. Actually, before that, let's talk about Nintendo's real quick, because Nintendo is going to be interesting. Yeah, Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be there. Link's Awakening Remake is going to be there. Mario Maker 2 is going to be there. Actually, Animal Crossing more than likely is going to be there. Luigi's Mansion, and then they're going to be announcing some surprises for sure. Hopefully, I don't know. What do you guys think could be a surprise announcement from Nintendo?
Well, for me personally, I know it's not going to happen, but like, am I the only person here asking for a Pokemon Stadium or Coliseum or XD Gale of Darkness sort of game?
No, I've been asking for that since like cool. the N64.
Yeah, because like was it Sonority G? I forget. I don't know how to pronounce the developer's name on that, but like I thoroughly enjoy those types of Pokemon games. I like a lot of other Pokemon games too, but if they somehow announced, that hey, we're making a game like Pokemon Coliseum, that would be like my one thing I would scream about, because I really love those games. I don't think it's gonna happen, but
Mm-hmm. So are you gonna get a Switch finally, my dude? Are you thinking about it? Because they are gonna have that traditional Pokemon game out there, and I know you're saying something about. Yeah, Pokemon.
I still have plans to get a Switch this holiday. But yeah,
it's gonna be huge, man. You thought Super Smash Brothers sold well? Oh my God! Just wait for this.
Pokemon's gonna be a big selling point.
It's gonna be huge.
The instant seller for everyone else at a large is once they get that announced date for good old Animal Crossing. Yep, Animal Crossing will make me go buy a second Switch, because I'll leave the other one at home.
I'm gonna buy a fourth Switch. I'll buy 5.
Well, it's because right now it's the fact that me and my roommate split half and half on ours, the one that we use at the house.
What do you guys both use a Joy-Con together? That's cute.
Yeah, absolutely. We sit there and hold hands and hug each other.
You get the red, I get the blue.
We'll sit there and even share a milkshake with the same straw.
Oh, nice. You guys are close.
You get to enjoy the Rumble feature, though. Just stop sticking it in your face.
I'll literally just go and drop and immediately buy a second Switch, because of the fact that Animal Crossing is one of those games that's legitimately such a guilty pleasure that anyone who denies that they enjoy that game is lying to themselves or lying to everyone, because everyone enjoys that game, because something about it that's just encapsulating. And if they give an announced date, like I will immediately go and drop the money on it, like right out the gate.
You and a ton of other people.
Same thing for me with that game Graveyard Keeper that's in game.
Oh yeah. But I know they're going to show about more on Astral Chain. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Of course, we already know about a Pokemon Attack and Defend, so we'll see anything about that. What surprise announcement would like really get me is they already teased, hey, Metro Prime 4 is in works. If they made an announcement, hey, we're remaking the trilogy for a Switch, yeah, it's coming, and they give a date for it, I think that would be a hell of a surprise.
Microsoft.
Yeah, it should be good. Should be pretty good. Let's talk about Microsoft, shall we? So Xbox, I think they have the stage all to themselves, man. I think that they're primed to take E3 by storm, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an Xbox dude. I'm just look at the proofs in the pudding, folks. I've read off the conferences. I've pretty much outlined what's going to be presented at E3. Nintendo's going to have a good conference, yes, but we already know. I think that Xbox just has the ability to just blow the lights off the joint, get people hyped. There's going to be third-party offerings, surprise trailers like they did last year, first-party surprises, hardware reveals potentially. Man, I mean, Microsoft.
Developer acquisitions.
Yes, developer acquisitions. They're going to be at their own place next door. Let's talk about Microsoft. Let's start it off with anybody that wants to start it off.
I was going to say the one thing that worries me about this conference that is a possibility is that if they drag on too much about xCloud.
Yeah.
I know xCloud is very important to them, and so like that's why I don't want to see them not submitting it into the show, but don't drag it on for longer than it's worth, right?
You're saying don't take a 10-minute topic and make it half an hour.
Right, exactly. But also, like, the one thing that's starting to annoy me as we get closer to E3 is, like, people are like, well, their show's doomed because they're not going to show any new IPs. And I'm like, what? What do you mean they're not going to show? With all of these studios that they've acquired, I understand they're not going to show every last bit of news from all of them. But for you to say they're not going to show any new IP, I think that's dumb, personally. So I think that's I've been tooting this horn for a year and a half now that I 100% believe that there is going to be a new IP here, and we all already know who that's going to be. But I think and I've flip flopped on this topic so many times, revolving around Playground Games and their new game. Like one instance, I'm so sure that it's going to be shown, and then I'm not, and then I'm back and forth. I really do hope that their new game is shown this year. I do think it is going to be shown this year, but I do hope that they do this because that studio has so much potential. Like people only see it as, oh, well, they do the Forza Horizon games. And I'm like, guys, you're not seeing what I'm seeing with them. Like my voice keeps cracking, but like, I don't think people are seeing exactly what I'm seeing in Playground Games. Like their worlds are just something. I almost made a really bad pun by saying it's out of this world, but like the stuff they make is just amazing. And I really want people to see what they're really capable of going outside of their wheelhouse.
Noof, what do you think, man? Microsoft.
I made a bad pun again.
Microsoft is hands down going to have a killer show.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's one of those double-edged swords. It's one of those things where I think they're going to have a great show, but the microscope is going to be on them indefinitely without the other big players on the stage. They're going to get scrutinized more than ever. So it's one of those things, damned if you do, damned if you don't, but they are going to have a hell of a show. I suspect we are going to see a lot more of Halo Infinite. Hardware-wise, I don't know if they're ready to tease too much yet. That'll be interesting, but I definitely think we'll see a lot more Halo Infinite related. Gears of War, obviously,
they already confirmed that.
Gears, is obviously coming out this year, so that has to be one of their showcase pieces, and I'm sure we'll get to see some gameplay and some action from it there. Maybe what they're doing with the multiplayer. I'm hearing some rumblings that they may have like a battle royale style feature in there. Who the hell knows? And maybe a newer
Gears.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody was saying something, but
I was hearing that about Halo. I don't think they're gonna put that in Gears.
That'd be weird in Gears, but you never know.
Yeah.
Definitely, like I said, Forza will take, I think, a bit of a backseat in a hiatus. Fable, I think, is highly likely, and I definitely think we're going to see at least one new IP from one of the 13 studios. Yeah. People think that Microsoft, the impression around, when you do these podcasts, that people think that Microsoft unveiled who they signed, they're thinking, oh, well, they're just starting their games. No. Deals were in place, and they were 3 or 4 years into some of these projects before they came out and said, these guys are now with us. We already know that somebody like Obsidian is heavily into a couple of their projects and stuff like that. So it's going to be a great show. I'm super stoked for Microsoft. They might be the savior of the show this year because outside of maybe Nintendo and Ubisoft and possibly Bethesda, I think the rest is going to be slim pickings. So it's Microsoft's show to sort of blow it or show it. So they just gotta stay consistent, stay on pace, don't waste too much time with they're gonna have to do their Minecraft spiel, I'm sure, all this stuff, because that's one of their that's one of their lifelines, flagships. So that's gonna be in there somewhere.
But it's also the biggest money maker, and as well as it's also their testing ground for everything.
Well,
and the indies.
Going back to the studio stuff, again, people, the assumption is that none of these studios are ready. We're already hearing about Ninja Theory because they've had a project from years and years ago that they're working on. Obsidian said they had a second game, and that second game, not the Outer Worlds, was the reason Microsoft purchased them in the first place. They have a second game that's apparently ready too. Will it be shown? I have no idea. I wanted to address Peter Young in the chat saying that Fable won't be shown because it's and I do believe
I was gonna do that.
I do believe that it is a 2021 holiday game. However, not showing it this year because the game's 2 years out means nothing, because
it doesn't take 2 years to make a Fable game.
Well, no. You look at Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is most likely a 2020 holiday game as well. They're showing that game 2 years out. So why can't they do that for anything?
But I think they're showing Halo Infinite to make a point because of what 343 has been working on, because they want to show, hey, we showed the teaser last year to really give a demonstration of the tech demo of what they've been working on these past few years with Slipspace. Now they're going to put it on full display and show, hey, this is everything that it's capable of, and really putting it out there. I think that's why they're showing it.
People also have to realize, people think that Playground Games started working on their game last year. They've been working on this game since late 2016. That was 3 years ago, people.
And don't forget about Rare, guys. If you think Sea of Thieves, the only thing Rare's been cooking, I think you're sorely mistaken. One of their lady devs earlier today said she just started with them about 5 or 6 months ago, said the culture inside of their studio is amazing, and said that they are working on a very exciting project. So.
Yeah,
and I don't expect them to show, if Fable is going to be shown here, I don't expect them to show gameplay. What I think most people want, they want to know it exists. You know, them showing up a JPEG Nintendo style would get a lot of people hyped. They just want to know that the thing exists. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what? I real quick, Hyena, I think you've been talking too much. I think you've been talking way too much to the wrong people on Twitter, Hyena.
You've been talking too much.
You've been talking to the wrong people too much on Twitter. It's been so toxic on Twitter lately. Imagine what the fanboys that hate Microsoft are going to be like at and after E3. We're just leading up to it.
Yeah,
Salty, you better prepare some kind of GIF or picture to throw in as a background for this podcast, because the saltiest people for months on end is going to be the fanboys that hate Xbox. But we know most of the announcements for Microsoft, I think. I do think there will be a few small surprises, but even if they just announce the guaranteed things that, you know, that like most of the people agree upon that's going to be there, and that's a laundry list of things. Even if they just do that, the bare bones minimum, it's going to be a very successful show for Microsoft at this E3. And I do think they're going to go a little bit above and beyond. So, I mean, it's really there's no way they Phil Spencer could walk out on stage, trip on his own feet, hit his face, cut himself up, and it's still gonna be a successful show.
Look, the biggest Microsoft guarantee at the show, guys, they are going to talk about Game Pass.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Hey, you cannot deny how successful Game Pass has been, though.
How long?
Let's be realistic. It may not. Hang on. It may not, for some people to view it, it may not be money making, but it is lucrative for the future, as well as it's been so successful on the support that's been getting from third-party developers who are wanting to utilize that service. Game Pass is a massive success story, and it's doing exactly what they want, to be the Netflix of games.
Yeah, so I have clowns on Twitter saying it's not that successful. It's not as successful as PlayStation. Now, man,
they're not trying to make revenue. They're trying to make deals to utilize it as a service for people to want to use it.
I'm not even talking about
wait a
the
second.
revenue.
Did you say they're not trying to make revenue?
No, they're not. Right? Hey, Salty, don't even go there with me. With a company that gives away free months, like it's
someone cut that audio, please.
At a fucking strip show and gives away 3 months for $1.
Hey, timestamp that audio real quick. Timestamp that audio, please. All right.
So I have two questions for the panel. Last year at E3, I think it was an hour and 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that, give or take. How long do we think this show is going to be? And the second
5 hours minimum.
And the second question is this year the year where we see anything Nintendo related, partnerships with Microsoft on stage?
Potentially. Partnership wise, I think we may get word that if they do anything, it's going to be the crossover, and that they're going to pull a Xbox character, specifically Banjo-Kazooie, and put it over in Smash. Anything more would be interesting. We already know that there's still the utilization of them helping to put more Xbox Live features over on the Switch as it is now. Anything else? What else did you ask besides the partnership?
How long do we think the show is going to actually be for this year?
Probably last year it pushed 2 hours. I think we might see it go 2.5 at minimum. If they don't keep it at 2,
definitely not 10 minutes.
If they go for a max time, I would say closer to about 3 hours, depending on what they talk about and how long they talk about it, because they always have a lot to show off.
Yeah, the comment of the night goes to KhAoS ThEoRy. Definitely not 10 minutes.
Hey.
Anyway,
Creep knows what I'm talking
100%
about.
longer than Sony's show.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, how long is Sony's show going to be going?
Hey, if they go 20 minutes, they already went 200% longer than Sony did. So let's put that work in, boys. Anyways.
We're over a time limit. Ashtrey's telling.
Man, I didn't even get to talk about my stuff.
All right, talk about it real quick.
What? You talked about your stuff tonight.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
true.
talk about. I didn't talk about the Xbox conference. Biggest thing is they already confirmed for you, Noof. They already confirmed they're showing off Infinite. They already said that they're going to show off Gears 5. That's already big stuff that they know that they got to show off and that they're going to do. And they already said that they're going to start showing off some of the stuff coming from their new acquired studios. I guarantee that we're definitely going to see something from Newgrounds, of course. And then more than likely we'll see Ninja Theories. I think what we'll honestly see is the announcement of two to maybe 3 new IPs from their first party studios that they just acquired. That's what I think that they're going to show. The rest of them are going to have stuff that they're not going to show this year. Anything that they do, it's going to be Vidocs talking about the next project. That's more than likely going to be start of the next gen, because that's really what a lot of what's going to be setting up. As well as I think we might see a partnership or some announcement from Nintendo. The other biggest thing is I think we're going to see a lot more Japanese support again this year on Xbox's stage, but more specifically, I think we're going to see something coming from Sega, especially after the talk and interview recently where they said, hey, we want to push to being more multi-plat and being a multi-platform publisher. And then we still haven't seen the extent of the trip that they made to Redmond last year. I think this is where we're going to start seeing that, hey, we haven't been talking about certain things, and now they're going to make the announcement on this stage and start saying, hey, these are what we have in the works. I think that's going to be the biggest thing.
Would you guys think, and this could be an absolute, this would be like a drop the mic moment, do you think it's possible that Microsoft unveils or does something with Bungie?
If they did, because of the fact that there was already those talks about saying, hey, they want to help one of their favorite independent developers, and that we've seen kind of the Bungie bridge kind of being repaired-ish. If they announce that there's any sort of partnership, not buying them, let's be realistic. They're not going to buy them again. That would be fucking hilarious. But let's be realistic. Let's not buy into that whole narrative. They would never buy them unless like Bungie was absolutely desperate. However, I think they would say that they would work together in a partnership on a new project. But that's still one of those things that, if they did, would absolutely kill everyone. But how likely it is, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would honestly say it's 50-50 how it could go.
20%.
20%?
It's a lot of math.
I would say, realistically, let's say 40-60. 40% that it happens, 60% more likely it's not going to happen.
Hey, what's the chances that this is the end of the show? 100%. All right, let's get to the outros. Great show, everybody. Great show. We appreciate everybody in the chat, all the super chats, Patreons, members of the channel, panel members, everybody. It's going to be a good E3. I think it's going to be great no matter what. And it's just around the corner. I hope you guys enjoyed this special episode talking about E3. I'm sure there's going to be more news coming up, and we'll talk about it when it comes up. Let's get to our outros. Let's start off with Bloody Knuckles. Where can people find you, man?
Man, they can find me everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that at Bloody Knuckles. If they just go to Linktree/Bloody Knuckles, the O is 0, the E is 3, and of course it ends in a Z. They can find the links to all my social media and everywhere, guys. You can also find me here every Thursday with you guys, every Friday on GRG, Saturday on Smash on my channel, and then every other Sunday with my partner JD from the Tick Games Network over on the Otaku Fix.
And if you're tired of getting your ears blown out by his shitty mic, start up a GoFundMe or something.
Yeah,
dude.
I will start a GoFundMe if y'all want me to get a new mic.
Oh my god! Go buy a blue snowball, my dude. All right. It sounds like a razor. A razor blade is literally this whole episode. When you were yelling, a razor blade was just going in and out of my eardrums, ear and out.
It was precision with noise.
So hopefully he gets that fixed, or he's going to be put in the brig. Anyway, next up we have Hyena Den. Where can people find you?
Hey, it was a fun show, as always. Everybody can find me every Thursday night here on the Saltiest Gaming Podcast and on Twitter at HyenaDenXBL and YouTube and Xbox Live at HyenaSpaceDen. I just uploaded a video called The Next Generation Secret Sauce Problem. So very fun video that I uploaded this morning. And you guys can also find me tomorrow morning on Breakfast with Boom. So gonna have to get some shut-eye right after this podcast so I don't miss like the last 3.
He's like, I'll be there in case I sleep in, then I won't be there. Then I'll be there the next week, maybe.
Exactly. So definitely stop by.
So maybe catch him there tomorrow, maybe not. So next up,
pull an all-nighter, hyena.
Yeah. Next up, we got Noof Nukem. I think he's falling asleep. We're going to give him the
Boom, Noof is about to leave the room. Great show tonight, Salty and the rest of the panel. Titan, your copy of Titanfall 2 is in the mail, so hopefully that will make you shout a little louder when you pick up that copy. Great show tonight. Great topics as always. And thanks earlier as well, Salty, for shouting out my little Arnie cast. Did that
check it out,
today.
man.
First time dropping that. I had people asking for it for a while, so I kind of got that out of the way. Had a blast doing it, but it is a little bit harder on the throat, on the vocal cords than I thought it would be for an extended period of time, but it was good. Otherwise, guys, you can always find me in the gutter, and we'll see you back here same time, same place next week. Peace out.
All right. Next, last but not least, Titan Drago. I know you're working on a song, but it's not recorded yet, so that's a teaser there. Where can people find you, man?
Everything at Titan Drago, everybody. Got to give a shout out to Creeper in the chat tonight, who's got a slightly new name, Jeepers Creepers. Anyway, every time I look down at the chat, he was spitting facts, man, bringing the common back to sense.
Where can people find you, though?
Me, we're playing off each other all night. I liked it.
Where can people find you, Titan? My God, where can people find you? No, I'm just kidding. It's all right.
Everything at Titan Drago, Xbox Live.
Okay.
YouTube,
all right.
Get up on my YouTube, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Let's see it. Let's get me up to 300 now. I need 300 now.
We're making goals and we're achieving goals here. So let's get these guys subbed up, followed up, and all that other stuff. And that's going to do it for this latest episode of the Saltiest Gaming Podcast. Let us know what you thought of the GIFs. I didn't really have time to get some good ones this week, so next week will probably be better. Which one you don't like? The likes and dislikes. We like to improve the podcast as much as possible. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell icon for future notifications, and as always, stay salty, my friends.